Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to M1 Racing and our live coverage of round 5 of the G-Force Racing Elite League. My name is Mark, and I'll be your host for the next hour or so, and thank you ever so much for spending some of your Wednesday with us here on M1 Racing. As usual, Pete is with me behind the scenes, monitoring the chat for us and keeping an eye on the racing elsewhere on the track that we can't bring you live on the stream. And I'm delighted to say Rio is back with us this week rather than being out on track. So welcome back, Rio. You didn't fancy driving today round Spa?
No, I think it would be better for me to commentate since I would be here for a while. So, get my last bit in. And Spa's not really my track either, so there's two reasons why I can't really drive.
No worries at all. But we're very glad you're here with us, and I know we're going to lose you for a couple of weeks. So enjoy your time off. But we're glad you're with us here as we watch round 5, and it's just going to get underway here in just a moment. Some drivers just starting to come out onto track here. What I want to do, first of all, though, before we start following some of our drivers around, is just let you know and give a special call out for David T. Now, David T has become an extra addition to the commentary team here on M1 Racing. David's not going to be on the stream with us commentating today, but David's done a remarkable job of collecting a whole range of stats from Season 1 and Season 2 of G-Force Racing, which is going to give us an awful lot of extra material to work with, not just today, but in the races to come. And I can't believe how much work David has put in to collecting all these stats. So, Rio, I've got a quick question for you. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who do you think, which of our drivers has had the most consecutive weeks finishing in the points? Out of all of our drivers, who has scored points on most consecutive occasions? Who would you say?
I think. Yeah, might just go with. I'm not sure, but I think it might have to be SHS because he's really the only driver that I know that I have seen in the points, and being consistent with it and just being in the points every single race is just it stands out for me.
And it's not a bad guess, but interesting enough, it is our owner, SS7. They have scored in every single round of G-Force Racing since it began. But here's the follow-up question, Rio. How many podiums do you think SS7 has got?
So I think probably over 10. I'm gonna assume. Oh no, actually, wait. Maybe like somewhere around 5 or over 5. Not to be too harsh on him, but since J Repo, we've had J Repo, Joe Bean, and all the other drivers. I think it might well be around that number.
Well, do you know what? This surprised me too. It's literally only 2. And both occasions, SS7 was the victor. It was in race 1 and 2 of season 1. That's the only time they've been on the podium. And when they do, they tend to win. So it'll be interesting to see. And I bet SS7 is hoping to get back on that podium pretty quickly as well. So some of these stats, I say, from David T, just amazing. So my huge thanks to David. We are going to be dipping into David T's bag of GFR stats throughout the season. And David's going to keep maintaining them for us. So Rio and Pete, they're all on our Discord server. So if you want to go and have a look at some point, do have a look. David T is on the streak of their own right now. They've had 9 consecutive races of scoring points. So congratulations to David for that, and hopefully they can make that 10 in a row today. And we're here in Belgium today for round 5 of G-Force Racing. Last time we were here last season, I think we had a sprint race as well as a feature race. This week we've just got the one main feature race, so it's all or nothing for our drivers here today. Very quickly, we have got some times coming in, so I do want to show you results from last week. M1 Righty was the victor last week in Saudi Arabia, Jeddah. They came home first. Joe Bean came in second for Yes, I have these are the right results. Joe Bean came in second, and SHS in third there last week. And M. Dorling, I think M. Dorling was our driver of the day last week, certainly for some of us. M. Dorling moving up into fourth, and here's another David T stat. So M. Dorling finished fifth the week before in, I think it was Australia, moved up into fourth for the following week. So every possibility that if M. Dorling keeps up this strong form, they could make it up onto the podium as well. If we look at the driver standings as they currently are, SHS leading the way on 87 points, but M1 Righty winning in Portugal and in Saudi Arabia last week. That's closed up the gap to their teammates. So 87 points for SHS, 74 for M1 Righty. But M1 is not with us this week, folks. So opening the door for Joe Bean potentially to close down that gap on SHS and M1. And David T and SS7 on level on points there on 32 as well. So David consistently scoring as well as SS7. And we see M. Dorling fast approaching in sixth in the driver standings right now. Constructors standings wise, Alpine lead the way by a fair distance, 161 points from Mercedes 84, and the Haas team in third as well. So that's where we stand right now. Let us get out onto track. We've got some early times in. SHS setting the fastest so far, 141.560, followed by MacT, and then Mr. Hannes 142.099. We've got Lost down here, setting a time at the moment, and I'm going to bring up some extra visuals for us. It does help us see what is going on. And there's the full track map. If you're wondering if we'll see a time from Joe Bean this week, you won't in qualifying. Unfortunately, Joe picked up qualification ban just for holding up Sam Ross in qualifying in Saudi Arabia last week. So unfortunately, they're going to be starting from the back of the grid. That's going to make for an interesting race for us to watch and see how they get on and making their way up through the field. And Rio, I think Joe has got quite a bit of ground to make up starting at the back of this grid. But would you agree if any driver can make their way through the field, Joe is definitely one of them?
Yep. I think with the qualification ban, I think since he's one of the fastest drivers, it's going to be a lot easier for him to get through the pack, and I think it might be easier because Spa's a big circuit and it's wide and it's loads of overtaking opportunities. So he could be through to the top four within the first couple of laps, depending on if the drivers defend, you know.
Yeah, well, there's loads of overtaking opportunities here around Spa, that is for sure, and it's a really long track, the longest one on the F1 calendar, 7 kilometres long, and it's plenty of opportunities for our drivers to move up the field, particularly if you've got a fast setup. Call out for Lost early on here, so Lost setting a time 141.674, just a tenth off of SHS. So Lost declaring their intentions very early on with a strong time, and SS7 with a 141.790 in third place as well. So good times to them. We'll get down to El Alex, who is setting their first time. We don't spend too much time with El Alex one very often. They are usually in the midfield somewhere, but a good track hopefully for El Alex to get us a good time. They're coming around to set their early fast times. We will ride on board with one of these drivers setting a super fast lap in a few more moments. Pete is telling me SHS is just starting a new lap. We're going to give El Alex the opportunity to show us around the end of their lap here as we're coming around the back of the circuit here in Belgium. One of the things that's unpredictable about Belgium is the weather. We're right in the middle of the forest here in Belgium, and the weather is almost like it has its own mini climate here in Belgium. So we can expect to see rain potentially today. Nothing on our screens right now, but we'll see when we get into the race. And there's no comment in the drivers' chat yet. They might often let us know if they've had rain on their forecast. El Alex coming over the line now. It looks as though they've gone beyond track limits, and maybe they're starting again on another lap. So Let us get up to... Oh, now one thing I do need to check, folks, actually, because Mr. Hannes is back with us this week. We just need to check if... Yeah, so the detector is still working. That's good to know. So if Mr. Hannes does leave the track at any point, we know that detector is on, and that can alert us to that as well. So Mr. Hannes now looking to start their lap here. We've got Emma Leckie just coming around. And do you know what, Rio? If you're ready, do you fancy following on board with M. Dorling here for a fast lap? They've just come round La Source, heading down the straight towards Eau Rouge. Do you want to take it from here? Or have I caught you unawares?
Do it on the next... Yeah.
No worries. Let me take this one for M. Dorling. So we're just coming up. We've just come through Radion, up the hill, now onto the Kemmel Straight. M. Dorling went ever so well in the last two races, continuing to improve, and I think really getting to grips with this game. As we come down to the first of these kind of S's, we're going to head down the hill now to Rivage. Stand on the brakes. The track disappears away from us. Almost got adverse camber here as well. Get back on the power. Through No Name Corner. And M. Dorling's pulled out at one, so they were not happy with that. And obviously that's because I'm commentating on it rather than Rio. So I'm sure Rio will have much more positive effect on our drivers. Let's go and find another one on an outlap. Actually, Wands is coming around here. Pete is telling me Ace Pilot has crashed, so that's very unfortunate for them. They will be starting at the back of the grid alongside Joe Bean. So no time for Ace Pilot. So Rio, I am with Wands. They're just coming up to the bus stop chicane. Do you want to take us round with Wands?
Yeah, sure. A lap of Belgium, not one of my favorited circuits because of the amount of incidents that's happened regarding me in the past. Breaking out the 100-meter board, turning into La Source at around the 50-meter board, keeping your right tyres on the inside curb. Now getting set up for Eau Rouge and Radion, bringing the car to the right side of the track and maintaining 8th gear to cut the apex enough not to get a penalty at the end. Down the Kemmel Straight as fast as possible. Braking for 9. Once again cutting the curb on the inside, the exit, down to the quite complex turn 10 and 11, braking as soon as the entry curve appears, trail braking because it's so easy to lock up the front tyres going into there. Braking as light as possible to turn 11 and then exiting with no error. Down into Pouon, here lifting off the throttle briefly, somewhat spin, bringing the car to the inside curb to exit Pouon. Heading into turn 12, braking a bit early, 5th gear, riding the AstroTurf and lifting very slightly for a short while, making sure the car is stable enough as we get set up for turn 14. Staying off the curbs this time for stability in 4th gear, keeping the minimum apex speed and using most of the track on exit, keeping it flat around here and shifting into 6th gear, or as here 8th gear because I was a bit late. Into the bus stop chicane is a bump in the middle of the track, so you might want to be careful of that and stay on the inside for rotation for the lap of Spa.
Lovely job, Rio. And a 1:42.128 puts Wands into 7th position provisionally on the grid. Some of our drivers are going to be going a little bit faster than that, and we can see SHS definitely is 1:41.112, half a second faster than their closest challenger at the moment. Lost it for McLaren in second and SS7 holding on to third, but we have got more drivers to do more laps. We've got 4 minutes of qualifying left to go. We've got Joe and Mr. Hannes in the chat here, and Joe watching from the sidelines at the moment, but they'll be out when the racing gets underway, and we'll see how far they can move up their Mercedes and put some pressure on these front runners. Today is a bit more wide open than it would have been in previous weeks, with M1 Righty and J Repo missing from the lineup today. That's going to give some opportunities for our drivers to improve. So let's look at the running order. We've already seen SHS lost and SS7 taking the first 3 spots. Then Maxi in 4th, Mr. Hannes in 5th, Emma Leckie in 6th currently, and their teammate Wands in 7th. Then we've got M. Dorling in 8th, but I think we'll see them out on a much quicker lap than that 142.258. Spicy Nuts lost teammate in 9th, El Alex with a 142.470 in 10th, then Obo, then Let's Go RFK, so a new driver for the G-Force Racing League. I don't think we've seen them before, so welcome them to the G-Force Racing Elite League. And PRS Roro, a new driver as well. And then we've got David T, our only driver yet to set a lap. So let's get on board with David. Where are they on the track? Yeah, so they've just come through Blanchimont, coming down to the bus stop chicane here. And I will tell you folks, this track is my absolute favourite. I would love to drive this one in the real world. It's got so much going for it. We're going to go on board with David here. Really good speed for the drivers, and so much to love about this wonderful track. And I think the weather might keep us interested once we get into the race. So we're coming down to La Source. Don't want to get too close to that hairpin, or that apex of that hairpin. We want to take as much power and speed down this straight as we can. There's a car in front, really needs to get out of David's way. It's going to. I do hope that car is, if they're on a hot lap, they might help drag David down the straight. I can't work out what car it is. This is their teammate, Mr. Haddis. So maybe the Haas team playing the team game here, giving David a bit of a tow down the Kemmel straight there. That will give David some extra straight line speed. So Hannes and David T potentially working together. Nice move by them if it works out. Through Rivage here, and then we're going to head down to No Name Corner. As you can see, it's getting busy out on track with drivers trying to get some final quick laps in. We just get the one qualifying session, so drivers don't get many opportunities to go again. David picking up speed here through Pouon into corners 12 and 13. Tricky to get the balance right of the car through these corners. If you try and go aggressive on the inside curbs, that will throw you through Stavilo. And now we're going to head on to this. Well, it's not really a straight. It's Blanchimont, which is a double left-hander, which these drivers will take absolutely flat out. Try and scrub off as little speed as they possibly can. This will allow some of our drivers to make an overtaking attempt into the bus stop chicane in the race. David hitting those curbs pretty hard on the inside, but nicely done. Through the chicane, back on the power. Going to go over the start-finish line for 141.570. Rio, I said David might be one to look out for. They're second place on the grid. Good qualifying from David.
Yeah, I was watching that lap. It was very good, and I think Mr. Hannes did go in a bit handy there. So there might have been some pre-communication between the two before they both went up for ready on. I forgot what it was, but I think David T lost, and FHS might have a battle for first in the race, so you might want to keep a lookout for them.
I tell you, it is going to be super close here, and they've done exactly the same for Mr. Hannes. So Mr. Hannes has grabbed a tow from their teammate here, so the Haas team really working well together. That's just genius. So. And this is what they do in the real world, folks. And now our drivers are getting to know their teammates and actually working together. So we really can't ask much more of them than that. So Mr. Hanna is getting a good tow down the Kemmel straight. They're looking to improve on their time of a 142.099. So with Mr. Hannes now, I have disabled the tracker. We don't want to disturb Mr. Hannes too much while they're doing their qualifying lap here. So they're looking to improve. We're just coming towards the end of Sector 2 here. So we'll see, and you can see in the top right-hand corner of your screen, folks, that will tell us. So Mr. Hannes not really getting much of an advantage. They are just over a tenth down on their previous qualifying time. So it doesn't look as they're going to improve here. As we see them coming towards us. Emelecki has retired from the session, so they're going to be qualifying with their 142.106. That might be good enough for the top 10. And Pete's rightly pointed out, Spicy Nuts up into second right now, 141.362. Mr. Hannes is going to come over the line for a 142.086. Improves by 1/100th, and that puts them in seventh spot provisionally on the grid. Rio, the McLaren team, are having a storming day. Look, second and third.
What? Yeah, wow. No, that's a bit of a surprise for me. Spicy Nuts and Lost. I think they might have been practicing for a while, because I don't think I've ever seen. I don't think I've seen Spicy Nuts up that high in the leaderboard. But I think his practice, if he didn't, it might have paid off because he's going to be battling with the big guns.
They really are. Now, that's really taken me by surprise, and I don't mean any disrespect to the McLaren drivers at all, but we don't often see the McLarens right up there at the sharp end of the grid when it comes to qualifying. So, huge congratulations to them, and indeed, that is the end of qualifying. So some of our drivers really taking advantage of the fact that there is no J-Repo and no M1 righty today. So SHS has got to fly the flag entirely on their own for Alpine. So there we go, SHS on pole position, but alongside them is Lost for McLaren. Got to be their highest qualifying position for GFR that I can remember at least. So we'll get our statsman David T onto that, I think. Spicy Nuts behind them on the second row alongside SS7. So SS7 looking to go well here for Mercedes because their teammate Joe Bean's going to be right at the back of the grid. Mac T in 5th. David T qualified 6th. Obo in 7th, qualifying their teammate of M. Dorling. So good last lap from Obo there. Mr. Hannes in 8th, Emelecki in 9th. Wands in 10th, M. Dorling in 11th. L. Alex in 12th for Williams. And our two new drivers, Let's Go RFK for Red Bull in 13th. PRS Roro in 14th. So all to play for here. We're at third way of point in the new season 2 of G-Force Racing Elite League, so all to play for here. Rio, very quick question. Who do you think's going to win this one from here based on those qualifying results?
I think maybe SHS or Lost or even Spicy. They're going to have a long battle, I can tell from here. It's going to be really fun to watch.
Well, I think looking at the drivers' chat, Spicy thinks that they can go even faster. I'm not going to write off the McLarens here, and I think a McLaren victory would be fantastic to see. So we wish all of our drivers well. And this is what you get with G-Force Racing. You're never quite sure what we're going to get week on week as our drivers continue to practice and improve. So we have 5 lights on. All right, folks, let's go racing for round 5 of G-Force Racing Elite League from Spa in Belgium. SHS leads the way, and we've got the Mercedes of SS7 has had a lightning start here and has got down the inside of Spicy Nuts already and was trying to make a move through on Lost also. So SS7 has a great start here. Now we're going to have 4 cars piling in towards the end of the Kemble Straight. SS7's got a little bit boxed in here. Now Lost is going to try and go down the inside of SHS. They have made it work. SHS Rio did look as though they had to back out a little bit of that to avoid a collision, but it has allowed Lost to get through, and we've got Lost in the lead of this race. But we also have a virtual safety car. L. Alex and Joe Bean are out, so we're not quite sure what happened there, but we've lost two significant names early on in this race, Rio. But great start from Lost to move up into the lead of this race.
Yeah, and I noticed I was on board with SHS, and he did, I think, turned into turn 7 a bit much, and had a bit of a spin, but not like a spin, sort of like a slide across the track, and I think that gave Lost the opportunity to go around him. But and also, Joe Bean is going to be frustrated about the DNF because he was hoping to get in the race earlier on.
Well, that's an absolute disaster for the Mercedes team and for Joe. I'm sure Joe might let us know what he thinks happened there in the drivers' chat. When you're at the back of the grid, can be a little bit more chaotic, and some other perhaps less experienced drivers around you, and you never know what can happen. So we really feel sorry for Joe. We're looking forward to a significant move up the order for Joe and the Mercedes team. That's unfortunately not going to happen, but it does mix things up at the front, and we do now have a full safety car, as you've probably already spotted, folks, as a result of that accident. So our drivers will all bunch up. Some drivers taking the opportunity to pit. We see M. Dorling and Mr. Hanna's in there already. We'll bring up the tyre choices just to see how that is affecting the strategies here. M. Dorling and Mr. Hannes were really opening the door for themselves here to see how things develop. So they've gone on to medium tyres, and then they'll have the option. It almost looks as though Lost went in the back of the safety car there. But fortunately, no damage done by the looks of things, so I hope not. So, yeah, Mr. M. Dorling and Mr. Hannes taking advantage of the safety car just to get on some different tyres and perhaps get off of the ones they had before. I don't know if, Pete, if you saw what M. Dorling and Mr. Hannes were on before, but they are now on the medium tyres. Everyone else staying out there, and understandably at this early stage in the race. We have two drivers on soft tyres, Wands and Let's Go RFK. Two drivers on the hards, Emeleki, who often likes to start on hard tyres anyway, I'm not surprised to see that, and Macti also on hards, everyone else on the mediums. And Joe's telling us in the Twitch chat here they got taken out by Williams early on in the race, so that is very unfortunate. And we look forward to having you back next week, Joe, and next week you'll be able to do full qualifying, that's for sure, and I know we'll see you much further towards the front of the grid. Alright, so let's take that, get rid of that. So Lost is leading the way. We will probably have a couple of laps under the safety car here. SHS currently in second, Spicy Nuts in third, SS7 dropped back down into fourth. They briefly make their way up, but I have now dropped back down. Mac T in fifth, Obo in sixth, David T in seventh, Emeleki in 8th. Let's Go RFK has done well on their start, moving up into 9th, and one's there in 10th. And maybe M. Dorling and Mr. Hannes, Rio, maybe one of the reasons they pitted, they just had damage from earlier on in the race. That's very likely, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it would be a bit early to pit for tyres, to be completely honest with you. But I think, yeah, since they're the only two drivers, it has to be for damage. Because there might, since they were both in the midfield, they might have, got in contact with some other drivers, and I think they want to probably repay that.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that they cannot go to the end of this race on the medium tyres, but this is a very long track here for these cars to do. 20, best part of 20 laps on those tyres. So I'm sure we will see them pit, but they are all bunched up here, so it seems like a pretty reasonable attempt. Wands has also gone in to the pits as well, so Wands taking the opportunity to get on some new tyres. They've got off those soft tyres, and I think that's pretty smart from Wands, and they'll be able to catch up the back of this pack of cars pretty quickly. We've got at least this lap to go under the safety car. I did mention earlier on that the weather here in Spa can be unpredictable. Well, on our screen right now, it's only saying a 12% chance of rain. So hopefully we will have a dry race to the very end. And indeed, Peter's saying the skies do look clear. So we are. It would be good to get a nice dry race here. I think in season 1 of G-Force Racing, nearly every race was wet at one point or another. So it would be nice to stick with some dry racing, and we'll really see the true pace of these cars and our drivers if it stays dry. So Rio, I guess this is this safety car has helped out those soft runners, although Let's Go RFK has stayed out right now. Our hard runners probably don't care so much, but these medium runners also maybe thinking, well, that really helps them out. They could take these mediums an awful lot longer than they otherwise probably thought they could, and that makes softs at the end for them probably more realistic, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult for me to call it, but I think hard tyres might be the ones to go for, because I don't recalling seeing or hearing that Spa choose up your grip a lot. But Let's Go RFK, I think they might have a chance of getting up a bit before they start to fall. But I'll give it back to you since there's a green flag coming.
Well, the safety car is on the way in, so Lost is going to assume that role of safety car, and you'll see the drivers now following very closely behind Lost, and Lost has got to decide when they are going to go. Do they leave it to the last minute, or do they go really early? They don't want to be dragging this entire train of cars all the way down to the bus stop chicane. So Lost leaving it. Looks like they've now gone. So they've tried to get a little bit of a leap on SHS. SHS is a smart driver. They're probably not fooled by that, but it certainly helped SHS because Spicy has dropped back a little bit. SS7. Spicy has dropped back a little bit from SHS. But now Lost has led the way into La Source, turn 1 here. The hairpiners will head down the hill as we're back under racing on lap 4 of 22, so a long way left for us to go. Those 2 early DNFs for L. Alex and Joe Bean. SHS is going to try and find their way past. Pete's telling me about a potential crash, but looks as though no yellow flags at this point. SHS trying to go around the outside. Lost has tried to hold the inside. I think they're both side by side as we come through the chicane there. Lost has held on to that Rio. That's pretty good driving from Lost against a fast-charging SHS, but maybe they've got the match of SHS today.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun to watch these two battle it out until the end, I can tell. But Lost has definitely had some practice in, and I think it's all well paying off.
We've seen them improve in qualifying and in races week on week, but they've struggled to actually get to the end of the race. So a little bit of consistency here from Lost, and with the pace they're clearly showing at this point, we could have a new winner of a G-Force Racing Elite League race. The victory so far having been shared by the 2 Alpine drivers, and now SHS is coming under pressure from Spicy. So the McLaren boys working together here really to put our championship leader under all sorts of pressure, but SHS having none of it gets very close to the rear end of Lost as they go into the bus stop chicane. SHS trying to go around the outside of that first one, have the inside as we get onto the main start-finish straight, struggling to get the traction down on the Alpine. So Lost is holding on to that first position as we go onto the inside of La Source. Great driving by these 2 drivers. This is the best wheel-to-wheel racing we have had since a couple of races ago. This is brilliant stuff from these drivers. And 3 of them go, and SHS in behind them, is looking to pick up the pieces if anyone gets it slightly wrong. Indeed, we've now got 4 cars really tight together. Rio, where did you call this one going?
It's really difficult to call, but I think they both might come out on top, if you know what I mean. Yeah, difficult to call, but it's so entertaining to watch. It's really good driving from these 2.
Brilliant driving from all of them, and that's allowed SHS to get past Lost, and Spicy Nuts has moved into second place as well. So positions changing here. Lost definitely losing out of that particular battle, but they are not going to let SHS get away, and Spicy Nuts is having none of it. So they've gone with SHS. SS7 has held on to that 4th place, but MAC-T on their hard tyres has not let go of that. I'm going to drop down very briefly because it's a neat little battle going on between Obo, David T, and Emelecki here. As Emelecki in the Aston Martin gets a bit sideways on those hard tyres as they came down. It may have been Stavilo there. There's these front 9 drivers, 8 drivers, very close together. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 3. That does look like it's a Williams or a Red Bull. I think, no, it's a Red Bull. So very close between David T and Obo here through the chicane. Not much room, but the drivers working it out here. So David T moving up into 6th place. We saw that they had some good pace. I wonder if they pitted also, because they qualified about 6th place. So they're back to where they were, having perhaps lost a few places early on. We go back up to the front now because we'll be back on the Kemmel Straight. Spicy Nuts closing down SHS. So SHS not having it their own way at all, and Spicy is going down the inside of SHS into the chicane. Great move into Lacombe from the McLaren of Spicy Nuts. So the McLaren boys really working together to put our championship leader under all sorts of pressure on lap 6 here of G-Force Racing round 5 from Spa in Belgium. Really exciting stuff. SHS lost, then SS7. We're back to, and then down to MAC-T are our top 5, and there is now a bit of a gap to David T. So David T is outside the DRS range of MAC-T. I'll ask Pete to keep an eye on that. They'll need to get within a second of MAC-T to get the advantage of DRS, and we see how powerful the DRS here is here in Belgium. There's only the 2 DRS zones, one down the main start-finish straight, but it's very, very short, whereas on the Kemmel straight, it's incredibly powerful and really helps our drivers to get past. So Spicy Nuts pulled out a little bit of a gap to SHS. The SHS being followed by Lost in 3rd place. Then comes SS7. I'm following on with SS7 at the moment as we go through the chicane before the start-finish straight. Bus stop chicane. Then we get back on the power with SS7. And we're going to stay with SS7 as we get onto the Kemmel straight. So we're going to go through La Source here. We'll see all of the action unfold in front of us, and we might see SS7 attempt to get past Lost. A lot of wheel spin from SS7 coming out of La Source there, hanging back a little bit from Lost as a result. And we'll see as SS7 will get the DRS open around about now. 3-second time penalty there for Ace Pilot. And there is a change for the lead up front. SHS getting back in front of Spicy Nuts. Rio, this battle for the lead is probably going to go right down to the very last lap.
Yeah, it doesn't look like none of them are pulling away. I don't want to call it, but I don't know if there will be a pit stop between these 3. But I think this may well just really go down straight to the end, straight down this line.
I think you're going to be absolutely spot on with that prediction. At the moment, the pace is so even between these first 5 drivers, in all honesty, and Mac T indeed pulling out their gap to David T. So nearly 2.5 seconds. So Mac T has got some pace on those hard tyres, and these mediums will be starting to get a little bit old. And Mac T in the Ferrari will be looking to take advantage of that as we head towards the third of the way through this race so far. SS7 closing in on the McLaren, have Lost in front of them. We are going to drop down further down the running order in just a moment, folks, but you can understand why we want to stay with these front drivers at the moment, because it's really all happening at the front. SHS is starting to pull out a little bit more of a gap, but we'll see that come right down. SS7 gets very close to the rear end of Lost into La Source. Really struggles to get grip again coming out of the hairpin. We're heading down to Eau Rouge, a small stream which runs under that part of the track, and then up through Radion. And now the McLaren drivers in front swapping places. So Lost getting ahead of their teammate and trying to take advantage of that slipstream to close down that gap to SHS. And they've got that down, as you see, on the straight. Oh, and we've got the Ferrari of Mac T coming through on SS7. So Rio, those hard tyres for Mac T working well. And this Ferrari is also in the mix now.
Yeah, Mac T, I was waiting for that to happen. It did at the moment I got onto his camera. Yeah, I think Mac T's sort of like, how should I say, unleashing the beast, basically. I don't know, but I think he wants to get in the lead as much as Lost and Spicy Nuts. So I think there might be a 5-way battle if SS7 can get in the mix.
I think I'm going to call Mac T the silent assassin. Actually, they've been, they've been on the coattails of the fast drivers for quite a few races. We don't see them every week, sadly, but they're usually there or thereabouts. So 3-second time penalty for Let's Go RFK there. That will be for track limits. But yeah, we've seen them close. And I remember in Texas last season, they had, I think they finished 3rd in both the sprint and the feature race in Texas. So we know that they are a strong driver, but that's not really translated into high point scoring positions. But today here in Belgium, they certainly got the pace in that Ferrari, and they're sticking with these medium runners, and potentially those hards able to go an awful lot longer than their medium counterparts at this point in time. We haven't lost any more drivers since El Alex and Joe Bean left us right at the first lap there. I'm going to give a little bit of airtime in a moment, but Lost is going past SHS to retake the lead of this race. So the McLarens and the Alpines swapping the lead of this race at the moment. The DRS helping these cars stay in touch with each other, but nobody else really being able to streak off into the distance. Spicy Nuts is still there. Mac T is still there. SS7 is still there. I'm going down to M. Dorling, who has now moved up into 6th place. We've seen them improve week on week. 4th last week, 5th the week before in Portugal. I think earlier on in the stream, folks, I think they said that was Australia, but I got my facts wrong. That was in Portugal. So a good drive from M. Dorling so far. Emeleki in 7th place. David T having dropped back a little bit now. So these hard runners, Emeleki and Mac T, getting the advantage of those hard tyres now as we're on lap 9 out of 22. Obo in 9th. Mr. Hannes is down here in 10th. Mr. Hannes has pitted already. They don't have to stop again. Rio, would you fancy taking medium tyres from lap 2 all the way to the lap 22?
I would probably do it because I don't think, apart from Origin Radio, I don't think Spa really takes that much grip. So I think I probably would go straight to the end from lap 2 on medium tyres, and they are fast as well, so it would pay off.
And just as we were talking about that, Rio, Hannes sends it completely sideways through the bus stop chicane, and that will not help their medium tyres in the slightest, but it was very pretty to watch and well held by Mr. Hannes. But they've got wands on their rear wing here. So that's putting Mr. Hannes under some pressure, and we can see we're going to stay with wands and with Mr. Hannes as we come onto the Kemmel Straight. And we'll see if that will allow Wands. It should be an easy pass for the Aston Martin. Indeed it is. So that moves Wands up into 10th. Wands has pitted. They don't have to pit again. But they do need to take those tyres an awful long way. SHS is still leading and lost in 2nd. Spicy Nuts in 3rd. The two McLarens 2nd and 3rd currently. Mac T now in 4th. SS7 in 5th. We've just seen Wands and we've lost PRS Roro. And that's given us a virtual safety car. I'm not sure where that occurred on track, but we have lost our new driver, PRS Roro, from this race. That's a real shame. So and we've lost Ace Pilot as well. So potentially a coming together between the Red Bull and the Williams. Oh no, Peter's telling me they were separate incidents, so not connected. So with virtual safety car, the cars won't bunch up under a full safety car, so they'll have to run to a delta. So we will keep the gaps between these drivers pretty much intact, although the smart ones will run as close to that delta time as they can. You don't want to get too close though, otherwise the game will give you a penalty if you're going too fast. So we have lost 4 drivers. We see PRS Roro in the Twitch chat saying that the car felt really weird after rejoining, and that's the problem. If you haven't got confidence in the car, it's pretty tricky. Everyone is into the pits. Rio, this is no surprise. We're pretty much coming up on halfway distance. Everyone will probably jump on to some hard tyres and take those to the end.
Yeah, I think everyone's gonna have a. Well, everyone's pitting. So I think they're all going to have a good battle all the way to the end on these hard tyres. And Mac T has gone to them onto the medium, so that's something to look out for, because that might give him a bit of help with Lost and SHS.
It does, but I think that safety car has come at exactly the wrong time for those hard runners of Mac T and Emeleki. They were probably hoping for a safety car 2 or 3 laps later, because now they've got to take those mediums an awful lot further. But it is going to give Mac T, and we should go up to them because they're going to have an awful lot more grip in these early stages than the cars in front of them. There is a bit of a gap now that has spread out between SHS and SS7. And I wonder if something switched around in the pits there. Oh, do you know what's happened there, Rio? Both the McLaren drivers have come in at the same time, and they've had to stack. So that's really worked against Spicy Nuts, who has dropped back into 5th place, unfortunately.
I noticed the double stack, and I thought that might not be good for the position in terms of like positions. But I think hopefully Spicy Nuts can regain those positions, because they probably were expecting a double stack, and they were expecting to drop down a couple places, but not like, down to 5th. but we'll see.
We will indeed, and definitely Lost has been the winner out of all of that. They have already opened up over a second gap to SHS, so they're outside DRS. So SHS has got to work super hard now. They're on the same tyres, so it'll all come down to setup and driving ability here to close those down. SS7's going to come under an awful lot of pressure now from the fast-charging Ferrari of Mac T, who is on brand new medium tyres. SS7 on brand new hard tyres, but these mediums have an awful lot more grip. Emeleki is now making a move past Spicy Nuts, moving up into 5th place. So a good recovery from Emeleki. They're also on those mediums, so they have a lot more pace at this stage of the race. We saw the mediums go off around about 7 to 8 laps in. So the hard runners will come back into this as we get towards the latter stages of the race. We've just passed half distance. We're on lap 12 of 22, so all still to play for. No one has won this yet. SHS has got the gap to Lost down to under a second. Probably a bit of ERS used down the Kemmel Straight has helped them to do that, and indeed actually they are closing in, of seeing SS7 defend heavily from Mac T. That has opened up a gap of 4 seconds to SHS. And SS7, Rio, we were talking about it at the start of the programme today, probably desperate for a podium. So many consistent scoring races throughout this season and last season, but yet to find their way onto the podium. They have a real chance here today.
Yeah, and I've always thought of SS7 as like Lewis Hamilton. He hasn't won a race in a very long time, but yeah, he'll be dying for that podium, and he completely deserves it if he does. It's been coming in I think this race might be the one.
It could well be, and with these hard tyres seeming to hold on, or at least fight back against the medium runners behind them, it's looking promising for them at this rate. SHS has closed up the gap on Lost. Let us go up to SHS. They've just come onto the Kemmel Straight, and I think we're going to see SHS making a move down the inside of Lost into retaking the lead of this race. Just a brilliant battle between these two cars here. In a way, I'm a bit disappointed to have lost Spicy Nuts from this battle. Indeed, Emeleki and Mac T have got through now on SS7. So after we were singing the praises of SS7, that has dropped them back down. We've moved up to Mac T here, who's got past, as indeed has Emeleki. But SS7 will now hope to stay with these medium runners, and those hard tyres will come into their own in the latter stages of this race. Mac T will hopefully drag this group of cars back onto the battle between SHS and Lost to give us a grandstand finish for round 5 of G-Force Racing Elite League from Belgium. We are only a third of the way through the season, so still plenty to play for, and although Alpine have stolen a march in the early stages of the season, the other teams and the other drivers are not a million miles away, and some consistent run of points and podium finishes will certainly change this. We've got Mac T under pressure from Emeleki as we come down towards the bus stop chicane coming out of Blanchimont. Mac T has held on to that position. Emeleki decides better about making a move, and they'll go again. That gap down now 3.7 seconds to Lost in front of them. It'll be great to see that group of drivers get very close together. We've got so SS7 now moved into 5th, Spicy Nuts in 6th, M. Dorling is moved up to 7th, David T in 8th, Obo in 9th, Mr. Hannes in 10th. Not a great day for the Haas team at this point, but a long way to go yet. Wan's in 11th, and let's go RFK as we've got the Aston Martin of Emeleki getting past the Ferrari of Mac T. Emeleki moving up into 3rd place. We haven't seen Emeleki this far up in the running order for some time, Rio, but this is Emeleki's home track, and they're taking full advantage of it.
Yeah, I was waiting for it. Emeleki's home track. He's bound to pull out something out of his pocket, but I think it might, all his practice and all his track knowledge might well be paying off for him, because he is having a very, very nice battle with Mac T, and I think he might be hopefully looking to get behind Lost enough to battle him for the podium.
And I do hope for our benefit that also happens as well. So the medium runners are lapping about a second a lap faster than the hards. at this moment. So Emeleki and McT have got to make the most of these these medium tyres as they can, whilst they still last and have got some good grip. That gap down now to nearly just over 2.5 seconds. So the distance between Emeleki and Lost is getting ever smaller. So we're going to have another battle for the podium of this particular race. McT is stuck with Emeleki. SS7 and Spicy Nuts, both on hard tyres, are still within reach of those drivers in front, but now outside DRS range. Emeleki setting the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:44.373. That Aston Martin has been lit up like a rocket. So Emeleki after the McLaren in front of them, and they smell a strong points finishing position for them and Aston Martin. And we haven't seen Emeleki this far up in a long while. So good going from Emeleki. Still got 7 more laps to go after this one before we will know. So Lost is sticking with SHS. I'm going to go down. We're with Spicy Nuts and SS7, who've got very, very close here. So I think these two drivers following along, perhaps conserving those tyres, going for one last charge at the end of this particular race. M. Dorling in 7th here. Has caught onto the back of Spicy Nuts. They're also on medium tyres. Hopefully we'll be able to use those to their advantage before they get too old. David T there in 8th. 3-second time penalty, Rio, for Spicy. That's going to hurt them now. They'll be at that time will be added on at the end, and with these drivers all so close together, that's probably put paid to their podium chances.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate there for Spicy Nuts. I think that was for track limits. The track may seem very little on the track limit strictness, but it isn't. It isn't in some corners. You only need one corner to get off the track. One tire to get off the track before they give you a huge penalty for something that barely even happened.
And I've gone right down to the bottom of the grid here just to give some airtime to our last remaining new driver. So let's go RFK racing out there for Red Bull. They're 57 seconds back from Wands in 11th place, but most importantly they are still going. And if experience tells us anything, last week Ace Pilot picked up 2 points, I think, for Williams in the end, because so many other drivers DNF'd. So just keeping the car out on track, getting it over the finish line, there is the potential of points for Let's Go RFK, even though they are some way back and they do have a penalty. Peter's rightly pointed out, and I'm going to head straight up to the front of the grid because Lost has retaken the lead of this race, Rio, and there's nothing to choose between these two front runners.
They're both going to be swapping places for a while. It's definitely going to go down to the line. They're both very equal on pace, equal tyres, and it's going to be very interesting to watch the line. It's hard to call now, but I won't, since I'm still deciding who's going to come out on top.
And Pete's mentioning, because he's obviously watching this stuff very closely on our behalf, he is seeing Lost just driving so much more smoothly than we have seen him in previous races, and that is really showing here. I have my fingers crossed for them. They keep this consistency going because they are genuinely on for the victory of this race. And as Rio was saying, it could be last lap drama for us here for round 5. But as you might see at the corner of your picture, Mac T is on the back of SHS. So Rio, we've got 5 laps left to go. These medium tyres are 6 laps old. Mac T's got to get this done quickly, haven't they?
Yeah, and I think he might get closer to them the more he gets on the straight, and he's going to be wanting to stay behind them the whole time for some clean air. It looks like he's doing that now with DRS. So I think we might have a 3-way battle to the end of the line. At the end. And
SHS is back in the lead of this race as we were looking at Mac T there. But just coming out into Lacombe, and they are through. And now Pete is telling me about a fight for 5th, and SS7, Spicy Nuts and M. Dorling are all bunched up together here. So, and these are all points paying positions. We pay points for the first 10 finishes this season for GeForce Racing Elite League. So, one place improvement has a significant influence on the number of points you and your team take home at the end of the race. So SS7 desperately looking to hold on to 5th place for sure. Spicy Nuts, as we saw, was strong, but they do have that 3-second penalty. But now M. Dorling is using those medium tyres well, and will be trying to get past both of these drivers in front. They're going to go past Spicy Nuts on the finish anyway with that time penalty for Spicy, but they would love to get past SS7 as well. It does look as though they're going to make the podium here today. I'm going back to our front 3 because MAC-T genuinely is on the back as we go through the bus stop chicane. They're on the back of Lost and SHS. We'll see. It looks as though MAC-T also still has battery. So we saw both the SHS and Lost, the red light flashing on the back of those cars. That meant they're within less than 10% battery charge. There was no flashing red light for MAC-T. So potentially they've got an extra bit of juice to deploy down the Kemmel Straight. Lost will have DRS. MAC-T will have DRS. SHS could get swallowed up here very, very quickly as we head down the Kemmel Straight. Indeed, Lost gets by SHS one more time. So MAC-T will be looking to take advantage of that if they can. Emeleki is 1.9 seconds back from MAC-T. Rio, I'm a little bit surprised Emeleki hasn't been able to go with MAC-T. Maybe they just pushed those mediums too hard too early, but they were very close together for a long while. But MAC-T has certainly stretched out a bit of a gap to Emeleki now.
Yeah, I think Emeleki might have pushed them a lot and a bit too much, just like you said, you were saying before, because MAC-T is pulled away from them, which is very strange, considering that they both pitted at the exact same time on the exact same tires. But yeah, you never know. But MAC-T seems like everything is paying off for him.
Definitely is right now. We're on lap 18 of 22, 4 laps left to go. Nothing is decided yet. We've seen this lead change many times, and MAC-T has come to spoil the Lost SHS party. So these front runners are going to start feeling the pressure from the red Ferrari behind them very, very shortly, if they're not already. I do want to go and spend a little bit of time with Obo, because we haven't spent any time with Obo at all. We're just going to drop down to them very quickly. They've largely driven a very quiet race down here, but they are in 9th point-paying position. They've got Mr. Hannes behind them on medium tyres, but Mr. Hannes has got their own problems with ones keeping them occupied as well. So Obo here in 9th, managing to defend from Mr. Hannes in the Haas, but a fair distance back from David T, unfortunately for them at this moment. Back to the front. We can't forget this battle that is raging between our front 3 runners. MAC-T has not got past SHS, but Lost still leads the way in this race. Rio, I get the sense that Lost might actually be managing this quite well. They don't seem to be under pressure. They don't seem to be throwing their car around, and they seem to have the control of this.
Yeah, I think Lost is doing a Sergio Perez, taking care of his tires and his pace, and I think SHS might start to fall back because he will be under pressure from MAC-T, so that might give Lost the advantage as he is kind of dropping back a little bit.
And this battle with the front 3 has allowed Emeleki to close that gap a little. It's down to 1.2 seconds, so we might get an Aston Martin on the back of this 3-way fight. So this might be 4 wide in a matter of corners if Emeleki can get on the back of these 3 in front. But as Peter's saying, Emeleki is desperately using up every ounce of ERS to try and do just that, but they are 1.2 seconds. We know Emeleki runs very low downforce, so their back end will be sliding all over the place. We might see it as they come out of the source. Now they've got good control of the car there, but don't get quite as good a traction as the cars in front. Now MAC-T potentially has a run on SHS. They're right on the gearbox of the Alpine. As we come onto the Kemmel Straight, this will open DRS. SHS also has DRS. Lost is going to get swallowed up potentially by both of these cars. Indeed they do. SHS gets through. MAC-T is holding on now to second place. Oh, Rio, I don't know if you were able to see that. Well, actually, Mac T's now got the inside as we go into Rivage. Down the hill. SHS gives them some room. Mac T's got some amazing grip on the inside of Rivage. And they might hold on through No Name. On the outside of No Name, as we're going to go down to Poo on this double left-hander. This brilliant fight at the front. SHS has to back out of it. And Mac T and the Ferrari is up front. And now Emelecki has now joined the back of this battle for the lead and potentially the victory of this race. Brilliant driving, Rio.
That was very, very fun to watch. I just caught it on time. I was watching M. Dorling for a second. But that was very, very, very entertaining. So glad I caught it at the right time. And yeah, it's very, very difficult to call. But I think that all four of them have driven so well.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. This is one of the best battles at the front of a GFR race we've had for some time, with it being so close with so many different drivers in there, battling with our championship leader and victor from season 1. They've found their match here today in 3 other drivers that obviously love this Spa track and are taking advantage of it. But it is not over. We're on lap 21 of 22. This is going to go right to the end. Mac T is now going to be wary of the power of DRS as we go down the Kemmel Straight. We're going through Eau Rouge, up through Radion now. We had a brief yellow flag there. Yes, we've got the Red Bull of Let's Go RFK just going through No Name there. Mac T now is being passed by SHS, so SHS resumes the lead of this fight at the front of the grid here. So Mac T now under pressure from Lost. Lost would be desperately hoping to get back in front. This could go down to literally the last corner, so Mac T will want to get onto the back of SHS. They don't want to let the Alpine get away. So we've got Lost here in third. Emelecki is still there. We mustn't count them out. One mistake from these drivers, it's going to let the Aston Martin through as well. We've then got a gap of 5.5 seconds back to SS7. So it's all going to be between these 4 drivers for the victory here, round 5 of GeForce Racing Elite League. And if you're with us for the very first time on M1 Racing, this is what you get with these drivers. And particularly as this league has really settled down and we've got a great core group of drivers. I see M. Dorling getting past Spicy Nuts on track now, not just through the penalty that Spicy had. So Mac T is under pressure from Lost, who's Mac T having dropped back a little bit from SHS, but they won't want to give that place away easily to Lost, and Lost will be desperate to get back the lead of this race. We are going to start the final lap of this race from Belgium. We're going to go into La Source. All of these drivers looking to get the best exit possible. This is all going to be decided on this next straight, isn't it?
Yep, I think it's going to be decided on this next day and on the final straight before the bus stop chicane. As we're about to see, with the DRS and Emelecki has dropped back a bit.
Yeah, Emelecki really has dropped back, but Mac T's trying to close right back onto the back of SHS. They've not been able to make that work. They were a bit too far back, but this is not over for these drivers, and I think if they're smart, they'll be holding on to some battery for the very, very last straight into the bus stop chicane or through Blanchimont. We're coming through No Name Corner here. Only a handful of corners left to go. We still don't know who is going to take this victory, but SHS does appear to have pulled out a little bit of a gap, nearly half a second, but there's still time. Lost goes a little bit wide coming out of Pouon there. So we come around turns 12 and 13. We're going to go into Stavelot. Good exit here from the Ferrari is what is needed for them to get onto the back of SHS. And will we see a late move from the Ferrari to try and steal victory in on the final lap and the final corners? I think SHS has done enough. We see the ERS out and Lost goes for a move down the inside, but spins. This is going to promote Emelecki into third place. Lost losing it on the very last but one corner. And SHS comes over to win round 5 of GeForce Racing Elite League from Spa. Mac T in second. Emelecki in third. Back on the podium for the first time in a very long while. Lost comes home in 4th. SS7 comes over in 5th. M. Dorling in 6th. David T in 7th. And Spicy Nuts, who we see in the Twitch chat, lagged out just at the wrong moment. They are in 8th. Mr. Hannah's in 9th. Obo in 10th. Wan's in 11th. And Let's Go RFK is going to finish. We've got one still coming around here to finish. And Let's Go RFK. I'm on board with Wands right now. 11th place for Wands. Unfortunately, that's going to be outside the points for them. And we've got Let's Go RFK would be our final finishers. Rio, there's been so much to talk about and so much action going on. We haven't even got to driver of the day. Who's your driver of the day out of that?
I genuinely don't know out of that. It's very, very difficult to call. I probably lost because he's improved so much since the last time I saw him race, and he's got a lot faster and a lot smoother, so I think it's going to have to go to him.
And Pete, who's your driver of the day going to be? Pete has gone for SHS, and there's it stood the test, Pete is saying, and I think that's a fair shout as well. I'm going to go for Mac T. I was impressed how their strategy played out. They held on to those medium tyres very well, and they held on to the pace of SHS. It just wasn't to be for them in terms of the victory, but a brilliant drive from them. And the game has given it to Emeleki, and I think a very deserved driver of the day. If you've got a different driver of the day, or maybe you agree with one of us in the commentary box, let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear from you, and give us your reasons why. So a mixed bag from the commentary team here, but SHS on the top step of the podium once again. Their teammate M1 Righty has won the last 2 rounds. SHS gets back to winning ways onto the top spot of the podium, and that will extend their lead at the top of the GeForce Racing Elite League. And good points for Alpine. We'll have a look to see who got fastest lap. I think it was Emeleki. So I think Emeleki's going to get an extra point for fastest lap as well. We'll see that on our screens in just a moment. There we go. So our final finishing positions. SHS takes a victory for them and Alpine. Back to winning ways for SHS. Mac T in second. My driver of the day for Ferrari. Brilliant drive from Mac T. Emeleki, great to see them back towards the top for Aston Martin in third place. Lost in fourth. Brilliant drive from Lost. And they decided to go for it at the very end and unfortunately lost out. So fourth for Lost. SS7 continues their scoring sequence, making that 17 rounds in a row. They finish in fifth. M. Dorling continuing to score well, up 11 grid places from the start of the race. So good drive from M. Dorling in 6th, David T in 7th, Spicy Nuts in 8th, Mr. Hannes in 9th, Obo in 10th, Wands in 11th, and Let's Go RFK in 12th. So well done to all of our 12 drivers for finishing. So much action there. Rio, I usually ask you this question now, but any particular standout moments, or is there just too many to go through?
I think there's definitely too many to go through. Yeah, I think the 3/4-way battle, I think, is going to be the main one, since there's too much to go through for me, at least.
Yeah, I've just enjoyed every lap of that race. There was so much to talk about, so much action going on. I'd actually going to like to apologise to some of the drivers a little bit further down the grid, where we do normally spend a bit more time not focusing on just the front of the grid, but the action there, I'm sure they'll appreciate, was so brilliant from start to finish that we really had to stick with most of it. So, but well done to all of our drivers for just a brilliant race here today. Let's take a look at where we're going to be next week, because that was round 5. Next week we're in Austria, the A1 ring in Spielberg, for a much tighter, closer track, but brilliant again for racing, and a track that most of our drivers will know ever so well. It often appears in a number of the ranked races. It's a popular one for the 5-lappers. All of our drivers will be strong round the Austrian track. So definitely join us next week for that one. And as an added bonus, we've got a sprint race next week as well. So we get the sprint and the feature race to keep us occupied. That means we're going to be starting a little bit earlier than normal next week. We will be live 7:45 UK time for round 6 of GFR Elite League. All right, we're going to leave you here with that thought for next week. Mark your diaries for next week in Austria. My thanks to Pete for keeping in my ear the whole way through. There's so much action going on everywhere around the track. It was good to keep up with all of that. To Rio for joining us. And Rio, we wish you well for the next couple of weeks. You're back with us for Zandvoort in the Netherlands, is that right?
I am back for Zandvoort. That is correct.
Excellent. So it's just going to be me here in the commentary box next week with Pete behind the scenes. So no Rio next week, but come and join us for that, and we look forward to welcoming Rio back with us when we take a trip to the Netherlands. Other than that, thank you to Pete and Rio. Thank you to our drivers again for a brilliant round of racing for round 5, and thank you to all of you for watching here on M1 Racing. Thank you so much for giving up some of your time on a Wednesday. We hope you've enjoyed it. If you'd like to watch it again, the whole replay is going to be available both on our Twitch stream and on our YouTube channel. If you'd like to get involved with GeForce Racing, a link to the Discord server is also on our Twitch channel and on our YouTube channel. So feel free to contact the owner SS7 there, and maybe you could be out there racing with these fantastic drivers next week. Stay safe, and we will see you soon next time on M1 Racing and next week in Austria. Until then, see you soon.